Good morning, everyone. I hope you're keeping well. Andy and Carol asked me if I'd like to do a reflection, and I said yes. And Mother Teresa is who I've decided to go on. So I'm just going to tell you a bit about her. I'm sure you're like myself. All you ever knew about her was this little tiny woman you used to see in a white sari with the blue trim, holding babies and walking about with the press following her. But she was actually born on August the 26th, 1910, and she was christened, I just hope this is pronounced right, Agnes Gonjanshi, Agnes she got, and she was born in southern Yugoslavia, and her father was quite well off. He was a merchant. He died whenever she was 9 years old, so her mother had to go out to work to care for Agnes and her brother and sister. And she was always fascinated by missionaries and was very religious. Um, she lived in Skopje in southern Yugoslavia, and that was mainly a Muslim city. But Agnes felt she knew the true God and attended Mass daily. And her mother was a very strong influence on her. Her mother was very religious, and anytime Agnes would have came to her, she used to say to her very gently, Agnes, put your hand in the hand of Jesus and he'll lead you in the right direction. One day when she was 12 years old, they got a letter, her and her friends at Mass got a letter read out to them from a priest who was now a missionary in India. And it told about the caste system in India, how they treated people. If they were born into a certain family, they weren't able to get any other job, only cleaning trash or cleaning waste off the streets. And Agnes felt so sorry for those people. They were basically discarded by society. And after the letter was read out, she went and prayed, and she got down on her knees in church and prayed to go, prayed to Jesus to show her the way. And she remembered what her mother said, Agnes, put your hand in Jesus' hand and he'll lead you. So she prayed and lifted her hand up and said, Jesus, lead me where you want to lead me. And she trusted that Jesus would do that for her. So fast forward till 19, just check the date now, 1938 was 1928, sorry, at age 18, the priest came back to Skopje, and he actually gave a talk and said that there was nuns, the Sisters of Loreto were looking for missionaries to go to India. So Agnes knew this was her calling. She said to her mother said, Agnes, you've been praying for this past 6 years. This is your calling. If it's the right thing to do, Jesus will lead you. So she packed up her bags and basically travelled from Yugoslavia to Calcutta on boats and joined the Sisters of Loreto as a teacher. But she was actually quite appalled and very moved by the poverty in the slums of India. And she took her final vows to become a nun, or solemn vows to become a nun on May the 14th, 1937. And she picked the name Teresa after Saint Therese of Lisieux, who was one of her icons basically. And she was actually known as the patron saint of missionaries, which was ideal for Sister Teresa, as she was now known. And she began teaching in the schools run by the Sisters of Loreto. She taught wealthy young women, but that there was a war on in India at the time, and there was a lot of poverty and there was rationing. The nuns weren't supposed to leave the schools, but sometimes they had to go out to actually beg for food to feed themselves and the pupils. And when Sister Teresa went out, she was actually couldn't help but be moved by the poverty, and people left to die on the streets. The hospital wouldn't take them in. Orphans, children with polio, lepers just left lying in the street. Um, but she continued to teach because she felt that was her calling. But one day in 1937, um, after the war had ended, she was going on retreat to Darjeeling, and she had what she referred to as the rest of her life as her call within the call. And she felt Jesus asking her to go out into the slums and work amongst the poor. So when she came back from the retreat, her and two other sisters started to leave the convent and go out and help the poor. They helped the dying. They took off their habits and bought the cheapest material they could, which was the white saris with the distinctive blue trim round the head, and basically worked amongst lepers, worked amongst children who were orphaned, worked amongst the dying. And a lot of the children started to call her Mother Teresa. So rather than Sister Teresa, she became known as Mother Teresa. And when the children grew older, they joined her. And basically, her work continued on the streets helping people. They opened a room, and inside a couple of years, the room had grown, and the Vatican then granted them status, and they became known as the Missionaries of Charity. And by this time, she had so many different followers. The Missionaries of Charity spread all over England, all over India. It also went to Venezuela, Africa, Australia. There was actually one opened in London and one opened in the Bronx in New York. And in 1979, Mother Teresa was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. But rather than taking the $192,000 that would have been awarded her, she wanted it to be sent to the poor in India. A film was made about her in 1969, which basically went global, and people became more aware of the work she was doing. Um, she had a lot of ill health in her later years and had a heart attack in her 70s, and was then fitted with a pacemaker. But she continued to do her work, her and the sisters, up until a few months before she died on the 5th of September 1997. And she had a state funeral, which was quite unusual. But the Prime Minister of India thought, because she had lived for over 60 years in India and done so many good works and brought the cause of so many poor people around the world, that she deserved to have a state burial. And whenever she died in 1997, she was world known. And from 2005, an award, the Mother Teresa Award, is given to um, charities, anyone who, on humanitarian grounds, cares for the poor or the sick or the needy. And in 2016, in St. Peter's Square, she was actually canonised and became Saint Teresa. But Pope Francis said that we would probably continue to call her Mother Teresa. So I don't know how you feel, whether she's a saint or not, but I personally think, and I don't think it would be hard to disagree, that she's basically one of the best humanitarians ever to bring the cause of the poor and the needy to our world. Um, if you want to Google her, you can Google her, and there's also a documentary on about her at the minute on Sky Documentaries. It's in 3 parts: Mother Teresa, Saint or Sinner. So I think people can make up their own minds about her. I just want to leave you with a little prayer that she said every day. She got down on her hands and knees and prayed, lifted her hands up to God, and just as she had done when she was a child, and when she was working in the early days as a teacher, and then when the Missionaries of Charity was formed, she always said this prayer. I'll just read it to you. Dear Jesus, help me to spread thy fragrance everywhere I go. Flood my soul with thy spirit and love. Penetrate and possess my whole being so utterly, that all my life may only be a radiance of thine. Shine through me and be so in me that every soul I come in contact with may feel thy presence in me. Let them look up and see no longer me, but you, Jesus. Stay with me, and then I shall begin to shine as you shine. So to shine and be a light for others. So I hope you've enjoyed it about Mother Teresa, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.